by Slimani.
What a goal from George Bulldog! Finished by Ollie McBurney.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. Thank you for joining us this evening. And we've more stuff to talk about, aren't we? Because there's never a dull moment being a Blade. It's always up and down. And before we kick off this stream, I feel it only right to address the elephant in the room. Yesterday, I posted a tweet up of a snake emoji. And to say it caused some stir online is a bit of an understatement, really. What I firstly want to do is apologise to anybody that thinks I was being abusive by putting that on. Look, I am massively against abuse, and I don't sort of take that subject lightly. I always say to people, if you're going to be abusive in the comments, there's no room for it here as a channel, and I stand by that. I was acting on emotion, and that was poor from me, potentially. I had some information about what happened with the Sander deal, and I didn't like what I heard, and I didn't think it was right. But I also acknowledge that I only get one side of the story, and I don't ever want to shy away from that. I haven't got the players' side of the story. I've got the club side of the story. So from what I've heard, I'm not happy. I don't think it was fair to us as fans. I don't think it's fair to portray yourself as the innocent party when you've certainly had some part to play in your departure. But having said that, you know, players come and go, and stand by my opinion. I just don't want anybody to be offended by it. So I've left the original tweet up, which some people must think is new because they're still giving me stick about it, even though I've followed it up with an apology if anyone's offended. But I've left it up for accountability because it's easy to sort of delete something and then, you know, try and pretend it never happened and all this sort of thing. But some of the abuse I was getting for that, it was just really not worth it. And it's not a woe is me. It's a lesson learned from me. I ain't come on with any sort of script tonight. We're not going to talk about anything specific. We're going to talk about what's been going on at the club. You know, it's exciting now for me. And I think a lot of people will be down. We've lost our two best players, no doubt about it. In whatever circumstance, no matter how much I feel the club can justify it, or I think we're in a mess. Because let's be right, I think both. I think the club can justify why they've made the decision on both players. To be fair, they pretty much made the decision for the club. Having said that, should the club have been in a better position? Should we have got reinforcements in before we said, okay, Lee, you can go to Marseille, but only once we've got somebody like Tillman coming in. Once Tillman's done, you can go to Marseille, pal, no problem. Should we have waited till Gus Hamer came in, who we've been linked heavily with today, before we let Sander go? I think, yeah, we should. And that's a fair argument to have. I think Ecky's now got working with hands tied behind his back in terms of his team selection for Saturday. But I also think, come close of the window, that we will be a lot stronger team than we are today. And we should be. We should be. There's no two ways about it. But, yeah, we're not ready for Saturday. I think we're a couple of weeks away. And, you know, the signing of Souza today is a real boost. I've only seen him in highlight packages. I've spoken to people who've seen him live. I've only seen him in highlight packages to put my cards on the table. He is a different type of player to what we've had in a long time. He breaks up play, midfield destroyer, if you like, a proper number 6. Will get his foot in. I'm not expecting him to be spraying Norwood passes from the quarterback role. I'm expecting him to win the ball in midfield and give it easy to his centre midfield partner, who at this moment might be Ben Osborne, which shows what a mess we're in. So Vinny Souza, I'm very happy with. We've been linked quite heavily with a few players. Will Smallbone, it were released that we were in for earlier today or late yesterday or something of that nature. Apparently, we've had a £7 million bid rejected from Southampton. And I'm going to say apparently on a few of these because I'm happy to talk about them. What I don't want, you know, I've heard little murmurings, but again, I'm not 100% certain on what's definitely gone in. I know we're looking at these players. All the players mentioned, I know the club have an interest in, but that will also account for another 20 players that we haven't heard of yet. So just to temper some expectations, yeah, there's a lot of deals in the offing. There's a lot of plates spinning. Will Smallbone is in the mix, and that might not please some people. That might, for some, that may be a really good deal. 23. He plays very similar to Sander Berge. I don't think he's anywhere near the quality of Sander, but that is an option for the club. Gus Hamer is definitely an option for the club. I think we are serious in our interest. I don't know for sure whether we've bid or anything like that, but he would be a really exciting signing for me. So you've got somebody like Souza in the middle who can break up the play, give it to Hamer, who got, I think it was 10 goals, 11 assists. Somebody might correct me if I'm wrong on that, but a bit of a set piece specialist. Who, it's a myth if we think Colin Norwood's a set piece specialist, and that's no offense to Norwood, but he gets 1 in 10 right nowadays, unfortunately. So now is the time. Obviously, we're at a low point here in the window in terms of, a real low point of the season before it's even kicked off. But we are only going to get stronger from this point. So I'm here to sort of say, let's start to look positive again. Let's come back together as a fan base. Stop arguing over why this player left and you only ever side with the player or the board or the chairman or the prince or whatever it might be. You'll all have your opinions on me. You'll all have your opinions on people who abused me, if you like, on Twitter. And don't get me wrong, I was salty in some of my replies and I learned a lot yesterday. So there's loads of different sides to everything. I'll have some information from one side of things. To be fair to other people, they will have information from potentially the players or Ecky's side of things or whatever it might be. So somewhere in between is what's actually happened. And what we can say now is things can only get better from here. I'm actually looking for, I've got a Palace preview coming up tomorrow. I'm recording tomorrow. I'm hoping to release it tomorrow night. But I've got a Palace fan channel that I'm working with tomorrow night. And if you've seen me on Sheffield United away earlier tonight, I'm predicting a 1 apiece at Palace. I think that's a good result for us at the moment. I don't think we'll get battered the way a lot of people seem to do. You can't forget with the crowd behind us. This team, I think we went to Old Trafford, to be fair, so I don't think we were at home. It might have even been in COVID season because I'm useless at remembering dates and scores and stuff like that. But I know for a fact we beat Man United with goals from Ollie Burke and Kean Bryan. So listen, this club can do anything we put our minds to. So let's get behind them. And with that, I'll get into some comments. So good evening to everybody. I'm going to, just so you're all aware, I know some of you are joking and sort of siding with me over the snake comment. And that's still my opinion. Not there is a snake because I don't want to be abusive, but I don't agree with how he left the club from the information I had. But what I'm going to do is skip over any comments that sort of ran that home, that's what the narrative was. So I'm not, because we're not encouraging things like that. We're trying to move forward now, aren't we? Be positive, like Stu is here saying we're all Blades, aren't we? Yes, we are, Stu. And we always will be. But, whether we want to be or not. Sander and Ilya history, we are moving on. We are. That's right. And it started today with Vinny coming in, didn't it? We need Vinny's physical presence, says Collis. Physical presence in midfield. Now, who's going to get us the goals? That's the next big thing into it. That is the next question. I know Tuba's been rumoured. I don't think anything. I had some people contacting me. Well, we're in WhatsApp group, to be fair, for our members tonight, asking about, is Tuba going to happen? And are we going to still get Tuba? I don't know, is the honest answer. He again falls into that category of players that we're interested in, that we've been talking to and about. Tuba Akpom, we may well not see him as imminently if we're going to see him. It may be towards the end of the window because now our interest is known, if you like. And Middlesbrough know we've got a little bit of cash in our pocket. They'll try and raise the price. I heard rumours of 15 million quid that they were going to try and get for him. He's not worth 15 million quid for me, in my money. But if we're getting him for 8 to 10, that's when we're willing to talk. That would, again, just my opinion, and I welcome everybody else's. Creativity, Hamer and Palmer. I won't get your hopes up necessarily on Cole Palmer. I know he's been mentioned and rumoured, and I know we like him. But I think there'll be a lot of teams in for Cole Palmer. I don't think, I don't think we'll be his first choice, if I'm honest. But listen, I hope I'm wrong. And that's just an opinion. McAtee, maybe. I'd love McAtee back. I'd love McAtee back in this side now for what we need. Can you imagine if we get Souza, Hamer, and McAtee in midfield? I know we still need a forward. Souza, Hamer, McAtee. Oh, that is in terms of the skill set and the blend of that midfield. Wow, it's exciting. That Archer in a dream world. Sorry, Stuart. Absolutely. Now you're talking my language. Frank says, Vinny Souza, mean machine. Yeah, nice to have another Vinny as our mean machine. Great signing. We need some good news. Should shore up the defence and give us another option in the centre. Let's hope he's ready for Palace. Come on, United. Yeah, I think, well, there's a couple of things in there. I think we can potentially get him ready if all these documents come through on time and stuff. But is he going to be fit? And Darren's just put on tonight that he's been unattached pretty much all closed season, so won't have had any pre-season training. He might have been keeping himself fit with a personal trainer, which I'd assume he would be, being a professional. Having said that, it's not getting you match fit, is it, and match ready? So we'll see. And he's crying for, patience if he does get chucked in just through lack of numbers that we've got currently. Sang to the tune of Mia More, says Andy Neal. When the ball's in the air, you'll find burgers. Not there, we got Vinny. I can't get the low bit, I'm afraid. I can't do any of it, let's be right. But thank you, Andy. All songs welcome here. We're a sing-along, aren't we, as well as many other things. We really need a decent forward line. The trouble is they should have been in pre-season. Yeah, they should. No doubt about it. We've needed to make our moves a lot earlier. We have a habit of leaving it late for signings. I think the general feeling was we were expecting Illiman and Sander to stay. That's a gamble that hasn't paid off. And when that's because at that point we're only expecting the 3 permanent signings, which have already come in, and the 2 domestic loans, if you like. That's what I'd heard. And Illiman and Sander going throws up a whole need for more, doesn't it? Because you need a very good player to replace Berger, and you need more than one player to replace Illiman. And that's where we are at the moment. So we're scrambling. And don't get me wrong, the players we've been linked with are very good. And I like a lot of things about it. Securing them on long-term deals, getting things tied down and sort of safeguarding. I've talked about this a lot, safeguarding the future of the club. It's so important. We don't want to be in this situation again. Start work at 8 tonight, so I'll catch up the Blades. No problem, Sportsman. Thanks for joining us whenever you catch up with this. It's always appreciated that people jump on whenever they can. John says, love that we signed a midfield general. Me too, pal. He looks the real deal. We still have no creativity or real goal threat. We might not concede a lot, but won't be scoring many at this rate. Yeah, we're certainly a work in progress, aren't we, John? It's not this one signing changes it. Vinicius Jr., Vinicius Souza. Who knows? What's the difference? Vinicius Jr., obviously at Real Madrid. Vinicius Souza, which is the better player? I'm not entirely sure at this point. Fair point. Blame to be shared around. Illian Sander chose to leave, yes, but the club, not forward thinking, has a big hand in it as well. Yeah, completely fair argument. Completely fair. And I think that's where the truth is ultimately. Blame on both sides. I'm not saying it's not 80% one way and 20% the other. There's neither party that's 100% innocent in this, is there? Because of the way it's gone. It's hard at the minute, but we need to trust the club until the 1st of September and judge the Prince then. Saturday is huge. Absolutely right. And let's be right as well. And we will judge the club. But this is down, not the mess we're in. Don't misconstrue my words. But this is down to Hecky as well. It's a huge job for him. A huge job. But Souza is his boy. Souza is the one that he wanted more than anything. So I know he's currently unhappy with the squad situation, which we've heard in local press. But in terms of the signings that we're targeting to replace the players that have gone, he's getting what he wants. So these are big calls from Eke, but he's done everything so far since he's been in charge. Listen, there's always going to be odd miss, but he's earned the right, hasn't he, to go and make those sort of calls himself. So Souza is Eke's main boy, and that don't mean we're not going to spend that same amount of money again. But he was Eke's number 1 target. I have it on good authority. So Putting emotion aside, can you really blame Sander? He stayed with us in the championship and could have thrown his toys out of the pram, demanded a move earlier. Simon, I'll read your comment, pal, because I appreciate you're a rambler and you support the channel. I'm not going to get into it too much, but just out of respect for you, pal, I'm going to say that just because we didn't see toys being thrown out of the pram doesn't mean toys weren't thrown out of the pram. Again, there's another side to this. The player will have his own perspective. And there's talks of an ultimatum that we're giving him. I don't know whether that happened or not, so I can't say whether that's true or not. But I know that on more than one occasion, he'd asked to leave. Evening, Jack. Love Souza in and think Hamer would be a great signing. I do too, pal. Just a shame it's not the beginning of July. Absolutely right. Paul says, let's be honest, Sander goes missing in games and never puts a proper tackle in. So I'm excited to see Souza kick the crap out of people. Yeah, fair dues. Fair dues. I think I would completely agree on Sander being very inconsistent. But I also have to concede that when he's on, he's great. He's a great player. It's men against boys sometimes when you watch him gliding past. I'll never sort of, just because I might be a little bit bitter about how he's gone, I'll never sort of, knock him as a player, because when he's good, he's great. Get Prince out of the club, says Jono. Get him out now, I say. And there's a lot of people that have that opinion. I'm not one of them. I think, to be fair, he's trying to get out of the club, isn't he? So we'll see where that goes. Unavoidable in this case, to Simon, but disappointed to lose another player well under their value. Injury prone and inconsistent, perhaps, but also played a huge part in getting us promoted. Absolutely he did. Absolutely he did. And if you think about it, if the rumours are true, and I'll caveat this with that, if we're in for Hamer and Akpom, then they're both in the last years of their deal, aren't they? So you could argue that if we get Akpom for 8 to 10, maybe 12 at a push, looks like Hamer might be available for 12, maybe a touch more, then if they had a longer contract, they might command a bigger fee. So we're only doing to other clubs what other clubs have done to us. So fair's fair. It's a business, isn't it? Evening, Gaz. Thanks for joining us, mate. Burnley, surprise choice given other clubs. It was linked to, I agree, it's an odd one, that. However, they're an established Premier League club, 8 of the last 10 seasons. Unfortunately for us, they are ambitious and heading in the right direction. Yeah, I think if I take my salty sunglasses off, then, they're a good progressive club at the moment, aren't they? I want us to be a good progressive club. That's the frustration. It looks like we're a little bit behind in terms of where we can be or where we can get to. I think Vinny Kompany has come out and said he's a big attraction in the move. I can understand that as well. An up-and-coming manager. I think he's probably got half an eye on where Kompany goes next. So if he does a good job for Vinny, he might well go with Vinny, but we'll see. Jack says, can Souza play on Saturday? Yes, he can. Jono confirms it. Yes, but doubtfully will. Again, due to fitness concerns. Liam says, Souza's been announced. I'm excited to watch him play. Me too, Pat. I think a lot of us are, just to get some new blood in that's of a certain caliber. And yes, we don't know a lot about him, or I certainly don't. But we're paying big money, aren't we, for the first time this closed season? Rumoured to be 8 figures. So you'd expect a player, wouldn't you, for that sort of money? Steve says, Jimmy, what do you think about Ilias Chair from QPR? Tricky player, would like him, but Hamer is different gravy. Yeah, I agree. Stephen. I like him. I like Ilias Chair. And if we had to go for a permanent option that's not going to break the bank, he fits, doesn't he? I think he's a little bit older than we'd probably think. I don't know how old he is, but yeah, I like Chair. But as we mentioned earlier, if we can get somebody like McAtee back on loan, then McAtee's a better player than Chair, isn't he? So it's one of them. Do you wait for a McAtee or a Palmer? I don't think we'll get Palmer, as I've said, but a Palmer to become available, or do you go all in and spend more money? Let's be right, to get somebody on a permanent like Ilias Chair, but good player and will probably be available because he don't fit that Tramp's style, does he, down at QPR? He's not a bum off seats player. Don't get too excited. No, that's true, Jono, to be fair, mate. That he's not going to be a flair player, is it? For me, is a Sheffield United player. And I don't mean that we don't like a bit of flair every now and again. Illiman's lit up the lane. Gibbs White before that. Obviously, Tony Curry, if you go back to my dad's day, he was, them sort of players they do get the crowd on the feet, don't they? But when I say he's a Sheffield United player, what I mean is he's got grit. He's got bite. He loves a tackle. Jack Robinson, for all his faults, and I'm on record sort of talking about him every now and again, and maybe it's a touch harsh, but one thing he does great is a real tough, hard tackle. And we love it, don't we? It's almost as good as a goal sometimes. Need strikers, says Kipper. Yeah, we do, pal. Any updates on Akpom, which is probably linked into it? I touched on it earlier, Liam. You may well have posted that as before I spoke about it. But yeah, I think if it's going to happen, then it'll be towards end of window now. We'll try and sort of get the price down a little bit, because I think Borough have been trying to play hardball, and we're not going to overpay. And I wouldn't want us to. Prince took us from League One to Prem, says Stu, and sold players who wouldn't sign. I would have done the same. Yeah, that's the business side of it, isn't it, Stu? And we're fortunate that we find ourselves in. Fortunate, we've earned our way here, but we're in the Premier League, aren't we now? So it's been a success, his reign. No matter what people think about the Prince, it's been a success. Seen some news today by the man Darren Smith, and it's made me very, very disappointed. He said we were getting no more permanent signings if Ndiaye Berger stayed, which is a disgrace, spending 10 million. I don't know if that's true, to be honest. I certainly wouldn't doubt Darren, but I don't know if that's true, because I know we had money to spend before the sales. He also said it'll either be Hamer or Akpom, not both, which is also shocking. I would argue that point as well. But let's be right. There's a lot of uproar at the moment on social media and perhaps a little bit wider, perhaps in local media and things like that, of people spilling too much information. So people might argue that I'm talking too much, and I'm only giving my opinion. And this is why I'm saying, if this is true, and if we're linked with this player, I think it'd be a good deal. There is a chance, because I know that Darren knows a lot of things inside, there is a chance of two things. One, that Darren doesn't know the latest updates, or the club haven't made him aware, which I don't think is true, if I'm honest, but it's a possibility. And Darren would say this himself, I'm sure, without speaking for him. And two, he may well think that by saying, yes, we'd likely get Hamer and Akpom, you may think, well, that actually damages the club's probability of getting them. So he may want to put out there that it's not likely we'll get both, which, let's be right, helps the club in the long term, doesn't it? So it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. What I would say to you is nothing is off the table with players we've been linked with so far. So get excited if you want, or manage your expectations in line with that, because we might not, Hamer might not happen. And then we'd all be disappointed if we're all expecting Hamer. I think there's a chance Hamer happens, if I'm honest. Smallbone might happen. And people might not like that, because it's not a glamour name. He's coming from Southampton. He was on loan at Stoke last season. Is he really a replacement for Sander Berger? Well, I don't know. I don't know enough about him, if I'm honest. So lots of spinning plates, but United, behind the scenes, are moving. That's all we need to know, isn't it? We need a new owner who has some money, says John O. Yeah, I agree. And I think everybody's in agreement with that, probably including the owner himself, which is why he's trying to sell or bring an investor in. So you're not wrong. He's openly said he can't afford to fund us independently to the levels that the club would want to be. Really happy with this signing, says Mark. Selling Sander was never a big deal for me. It was just awful timing. I completely agree with that. Good business for the club. Hopefully a few more to come in. Hamer and Akpom would be great. So it's been circulated that we got 15 million or up to 15 million with add-ons and a 20% sell-on. I've seen that advertised in papers, and I wouldn't bet against that being almost bang on. And if that is the case, yes, the timing is awful, But for a player with 1 year left on his deal, what an absolutely brilliant price to get. Whether we like the fact he's gone or not, and I don't. Listen, I'd rather he stayed. Certainly if he were going to sign a new deal. But 15 million quid and a sell-on, whether it's 10, 20, whatever it is, I just think it's good business. It automatically means you've got the money for Hamer, or you've got the money for Smallbone even, and some leftover. Smallbone and Akpom maybe. So, as I say, I think it's good business, even though the timing is awful. Can't believe these Princey out brigade makes mistakes. We all do, but more rights than wrongs, and making Hecky manager was a top choice. Absolutely right, it was. And I was a big doubter at that stage. Well said, Darren. If we managed to bring in Hamer, Palmer, and a keeper, I'll stop panicking. I'd be surprised if we got a keeper. We might do. We're always looking at different options, but I know it's not the priority at the minute. And because we're bringing more bodies in to replace Illy and Sander now, you don't want a Forest, a brand new 11. So I'm not sure every position that we would like to be strengthened will be, Steve, to be honest. Keep up the good work, pal. Sat up at 2 a.m. in Vietnam waiting for... Oh, Mark, thank you, pal. That's really kind. Thank you. Will Smallbone, another midfielder, and another right footer. How many more midfielders? Kipper. Yes, we do need strikers, pal, but we need midfielders as well. We've been gutted, haven't we? And I don't mean gutted as in, I mean gutted as in stripped of quality. Doyle, McAtee, and Sander were in the midfield last season. We need to replace them. Yeah, you might say Souza replaces Doyle. We need a Sander replacement. If that's going to be Hamer, brilliant. And we need a McAtee replacement. If that's Palmer, McAtee himself, or, I don't know, somebody, Ahmad Diallo from Man U. I'm pulling names out of the air, but we need replacements for these players. And yes, we need a striker. I agree with that. Getting a bid rejected at 7-ish mil for Smallbone isn't a sign not to pursue. Not sure what is. Again, I haven't seen enough of Smallbone, pal, but when we were rumoured to be in for him, I think it was Scott that tried to do a bit of digging, which Southampton fans, they really rate him, think he's a real class act. And apparently the only reason he went on loan to Stoke was because he was recovering from an ACL injury, and Southampton just wanted to get him back into the swing of first-team football and the rigours of modern football, if you like. So they rate him quite highly. Me too, Steve, says Stu. Sorry, I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Sanders says he's got high ambitions and that's why he's gone to Burnley. Madness, isn't it? Madness. Wonder how many of the Prince Out Brigade were here during Brearley and McDonald era. Yes, so are you. I wasn't, and I'm certainly not in the Prince Out Brigade. But yeah, I've heard we've had a lot worse times than this. Stu says Sanders deluded. And bang on Mark. Evening Ramblers says bids, evening pal. Steve says, I remember Reg Brearley. He was a con man. Evening Ramblers. Evening Old Blades man. Hiya Jeff. Mark's bang on with Brearley and McDonald remarks. Evening Scott. Smallbone will be expensive now. Southampton losing Ward-Prowse and Lavia. Yeah, that's true, actually. That's true. It's probably why they've put the price up, innit? Hi, Jimmy. We sold a cart horse, says Kev, in Sander, but bought a racehorse in Souza. I don't think he'll quite be the classy operator that we're hoping for. I think somebody mentioned that earlier. He's not going to be a bums off seats sort of player, but I think he's great for what we need. Hiya, Kristen. Evening, pal. Smallbone isn't a good signing anyway, says Jono. Jono, come on, we're a bit negative tonight, pal. Akpom and Hamer too far-fetched. Surely the board pull a finger out now after seeing the fans and Ecky's reaction. Yeah, as I said, pal, things are happening behind the scenes. I can assure you of that. Whether it's those two that come, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm very confident we'll have strengthened by the time window closes. Out of Smallbone, Hamer and O'Brien, who would you say is the best for us? I really can't decide. Out of those three, I would personally rank them Hamer, O'Brien, Smallbone. That's the way I would do it. Slightly concerned at the minute, but I'll save my judgment for after the window shuts. And a smart move that is as well, Jack. And I think a lot are in that boat, and I understand it completely. Hello, Harry. Evening, mate. Glad the Burge and Die saga is done. Ian, so am I, mate. And the timing is awful. I can't get away from that, and I'm not defending any of that. But to get players out of the club that essentially don't want to be here, and we were going to lose for nothing. We've brought in over 30 million quid for 2 players. Sheffield United, remember? And we can now spend the money. We're talking about spending the money on top quality championship players like Hamer, Smallbone, Akpom, whoever it might be, Lewis O'Brien. Then it's safeguarding the club and the future. Yes, they're not of the same caliber. We got very lucky with Illiman, buying him from Boreham Wood, and in 18 months, 2 years, became an absolute superstar and will continue to get better. Sander we bought for top dollar, and we are very lucky to get a big return on him. So I think it's been good business. I really do. If we get permanent players in on 4 or 5 year contracts, then at least if they, like Vinny, for example, I don't think Vinny will stay with us if we get relegated. But if he's had a really good season in the Prem, then we'll at least double our money on him. No doubt about it. Look at what Lavia's going for now. I don't know how much Southampton signed him for, but it won't have been the 50 million they're demanding. I can tell you that for now. Only getting linked with players who have 1 year left. Justice. Exactly, Jack. Let's get him back, pal. Evening, Rich. Thanks for joining us, bud. Heyman, Maka, Chukwuemeka, and I'm a happy blade. Yeah, Chukwuemeka. That's another one we forgot about. We've been linked to him, haven't we? We're not going down. We've got this, says Tom. Come on, son. That's what we like. Can't wait to see what the squad looks like at the end of the window. Up the blade, says Jacob. This is what we want in it. More positivity. And we're not blindly going into the season being blindly positive about it, but we're just trying to be a little bit more optimistic. Yes, Saturday might come a little bit early for us, but there's a whole season to go. Apparently, Akpom's going to loans for 8 million quid. I'll believe it when I see it, Liam. I think fans will be split on Akpom anyway. But if he's going for 8 million, then we'll be in that race. No doubt about it. Bod says Hamer and Smallbone in, potentially. I know the club are looking at players, and lots of players, obviously, but those are 2 names that have been mentioned. That's been reported in local media quite heavily today. Akpom's going to Ajax. So is he going to Lons, Ajax, or the Blades? Hamer's playing tonight. Let's hope he don't get injured if he's going to be doing a medical at Sheffield United tomorrow. I don't know that, by the way. Good call to sell Sander. Last year at contract, says Kristen, will go for free. Just hope we can bring some quality in now. Absolutely, pal. So do I. Life's about emotions, says Ian. I think that's probably referring to my opening monologue. So thank you, pal. Thank you. We've all been emotional, says Ian. Last few weeks, we move on. We do. And I probably shouldn't have. It's hard not to get emotionally involved into it with your club. We care, don't we? That's what it's about. David says we still need a couple of midfielders, especially left side. I hope we can grind out results for the first few games until the new players bed in. Up the Blades. Absolutely right, pal. Absolutely right. Watch the Berger interview, says Danny, with Burnley. He doesn't seem that excited to be there. Warned Burnley fans he won't re-sign and let his contract run down. Told them they've got a player with constant off switch. Yeah, I don't think he's a massive loss, to be honest. Listen, he's quality on his day, and like we've said, but we need grafters. If we get Hamer in, Akpom, we're really cooking something. Get players in that want to be here, like Souza. Exciting times ahead, in my opinion. Need those grafters, says Lewis. Spot on, pal. Spot on. It's okay. It was all set up with Burnley as they were on for Burnley. You leave Souza, you can have Sander with only 1 year on his contract, like for like, if you like, and signed on the same day. Yeah, so Ricky's saying, did we propose to them? Because they showed late interest in Souza. Have we gone to Burnley and said, look, we'll do a deal for Sander if you leave the way open for Souza? May have happened that. Sander Berger, the only 6'5" bloke I know that can jump 2 feet in the air with his neck, and his neck shrinks 3 foot. An Lumper could beat him to a header. Good riddance. I think he's bigger than the Blades, in my opinion. Yeah. Oh, he thinks he's bigger than the Blades. Yeah, he does. Poor planning by the club, says Rodney. We're going to be in the same boat with a large part of the squad next season. We're not. I know there's a lot of concern about the contracts going into this season. And there's been a lot of people saying that they've got contacts with players and things of that nature, where players are unhappy with the contract situation. 2 things. Once the window shuts and we know what our 25-man squad is, I know contract talks will start. So that's something that we can rest assured about a little bit. We're not going to be in the same Illiman Sanders situation with any more of this squad. Any players, and I'm not going to name names, but any players you think have a significant value to Sheffield United, we have got an option on. So nothing to worry about in that regard in terms of losing players of value. But we will still negotiate contracts once the window closes to extend those that we see with us for the future. So I get your concern, Rodney, and I agree that it's been poor planning by the club in terms of where we are at the moment. We should have had a contingency in place in case of this scenario with Illy and Sander going, but the contracts I don't think will be as bad as a lot of people think. Evening, Jimmy says, Darren, we move on. We do, pal. We do. But I wanted 15 million for Akpom. Not worth that. Pay 10 at most. Better players on the continent for that money. Absolutely right. Brian says, dare we dream? Now beginning to look solid at the back. Now Souza's in. Hamer, Doyle, Akpom, Smallwood could be interest by the end of the window. Absolutely. Could be interesting by the end of the window, Brian. Bang on. If Hamer and Palmer come, I'm over the moon. Bring it on. We'll definitely strengthen. And I'd like to think we can get players of that quality. I really would. Jimmy, United may be financially safe now, but we need to buy Doyle, Akpom, +1 and 2 good loans. Cole Palmer again, another one mentioning Cole. As I said, don't be holding out. I'm not saying we won't get him because I know we like him, but I think his goal of the night and the way he got man at match, didn't he? And I just think if he's going to go, it'll likely be to a bigger team. And Brewster, Ollie Mack need to step up or offload in the Jan window. Yeah, I agree. I think those two particularly were bought for big money. Ollie Mack's clearly had a positive impact over his time with United. He's had bad spells. Brewster's been very unlucky with injury. But I agree. I think it's time that they did step up and showed their worth. Big price tag around the neck, which they can't help. We do need to buy some players, Neil. No doubt about it. Buy some players. I can see us becoming defensively strong, but worried who will bring creativity and goals. I think that's fair, Aaron. We do have some pace, so maybe we focus on counter attack. We're definitely focusing on that. We'll be under caution out of possession quite a bit, I would have thought. Something like a Benny Traore on the break is exciting to think. Need a proper 10. Still, Palmer or McAtee would do. Completely agree. Me, myself, and McAtee, if that's what you're going to change your name to. I think we need to remember the club said they wanted to bring the age down and get some assets in. I'm on board with it. Me too. Me too. Absolutely agree. Kyle says, have you seen Roy's views? Their fans hate Souza. Not sure if it's because they got relegated, though. I saw a mixed bag from Roy's view. I have looked at it. For those of you that haven't, it's Panchero, Roy's view. He does view from the opposition and things like that. View from the club that Souza's come from. So that's them giving their opinion on him. Some weren't very complimentary, but others were. So it's a mixed bag for me, but I'll judge him when I see him myself. Smallbone would be a bad signing, says Paul. Fair dues. Chris says, keep up the great work, Ramble. Thanks, pal. Always a brilliant listen. Look at that. Barnett, Jesus. Been a tough time for us Blades over the last week or two, but I feel with the right additions will look much stronger. I completely agree. Completely agree. It soon turns, doesn't it, back positive again. What a roller coaster we've been on the last few weeks. Doesn't look good from the outside, but long-term good for the club. Absolutely, Matt. Spot on, pal. Let's get Gus. Let's get Gus. I was thinking, if we're going to get Gus, I'm not going to do it yet in case it don't come off, but I need some, like, Breaking Bad sort of teasers or something, don't I, for when or if we sign Gus Hamer. If there's anybody to blame for this mess, it's Betis. He's the one responsible for running the club on a day-to-day basis. Poor planning in the transfer window rests squarely on his shoulders. I wouldn't know, to be honest, Oliver. I'm not close enough to the club to know who's doing the deals day in, day out. I know he's obviously heavily involved, but there's Carl Schieber in there. I'm sure there's a whole recruitment team. When does the blame come down to Mitch, Eke? And I'm not saying they are to blame, but how many players are they identifying? Are they saying, I only want this player, let's go for him 100%, and then if that breaks down, are we behind? We don't know what's happening, do we? So, Sander was an inconsistent championship player. We paid way too much for him. Yeah, possibly. Not sad that he's gone, though the timing is bad. Tillman's going to PSV. Yeah, he is. You're right. We'll be stronger by September. Completely agree. No one's not a set piece taker. You'll be telling me Santa ain't real next, Jimmy. Santa's real. I don't know what you're on about, David. What do you believe the chances of Hamer are, Jimmy? Really need him, I think. I know we like him a lot. And I think we need him as well. So I'd like to think 70-30. But I don't know that. The problem I have now is the club has to regain its reputation. Listen, we'll be fine. 3 points on Saturday changes everybody's perspective. I'm not saying it's likely, but I'm saying it would change people's perspective. Jimmy, at the end of the day, there's 3 Sheffield United players. They are 3 Sheffield United players. No need crying over spilt milk. We're moving on and forward together up the Blades. Absolutely, bids. I'm up for that. I don't know who the 3 are. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was just the 2 on about, but yeah. Let's get behind Eki and the boys now. We can make the difference next few matches. Stay positive, Ramblers. Team will look very different in the next 3 weeks and with incomings. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Traore, now Vinicius. Team plan seems to be signed players with same name as established stars. Absolutely, Aaron. Yeah, we'll just wait for, Dave Haaland to sign, and then we're laughing, aren't we? I personally think it's good business. The players that's gone and looking forward to proving people wrong this season. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Who do you think our main target will be now, Jimmy? Loving the Ramble as usual. Thank you, pal. I think Hamer might be in the mix, and he's one that excites me. So I'd like to think there's legs to that. I like the Archer. I'd love the Archer signing. I like the Akpom link if we can get him for the right price. I'd also be happy with O'Brien or Tommy Doyle. In terms of the loan, I like Cole Palmer, but as I say, I think that's a bit optimistic. I like Ahmed Diallo at Man U. I like Man U have got another player who's done really well in pre-season who I liked as well. Young kid. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. And obviously, McAtee. Any of those, I like them all. Going to miss Berger, but kind of glad he's gone. Me too. I think I'm well behind on comments, so I'm going to try and speed up a little bit. Listening to Eki today, unless we start to bring in quality, we could be interested. Well, I think that's obvious, isn't it, more, to be honest, mate? One thing you will say, you see Wolves as a relegation candidate. Absolutely right. Sam says, Hamer's a must signing for me. Perfectly fills the whole Sander left and more. Completely agree. Michael wants McAtee back. Evening, John. Are there any other strikers we're being linked with other than Akpom? Not that I've heard, but I'm sure there will be. Not being linked with, but I'm sure we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Won't surprise me at all if a random name came out tomorrow and we were like, oh, yeah, that's just the player we're after. We need him. It's one of them, isn't it? Akpom goes to Lons or Ajax or whatever tomorrow and everybody's like, this board can't get anything right. It's a joke. So ups and downs, isn't it? Swings and roundabouts of being a Blade. Lee says, with Paqueta looking like he may move to City, might open up the possibility of McAtee or Palmer on loan. Yeah, it could do. Also, do you think there may be a possibility of signing Doyle on a full transfer? It looks like it's cooled off on Doyle a little bit, but I would be very happy with Doyle. So while I don't think we'll do it, I would still be very happy with it. See what happens on Saturday, says Daz. Will be a good marker to see exactly where we are. Just hope they show a bit of desire and fitness levels. Absolutely. That's all we ask, into it. Give everything you've got for the shirt. We can't ask any more than that. Gaz isn't keen on Smallbone. Very hit and miss at Stoke last year. Hamer, McAtee, Doyle, Akpom. 2 out of those 3 would be good. 3 of them would be great. I agree with that. Heard that Eki had been planning for this and presented the board his plan, and they're sceptical. What do you think could actually get these targets over the line? It wouldn't surprise me, Ben. Eki's very clever. He will have prepared, I think, for this eventuality. Yes, he wanted to keep both players. No, I think he's probably on record as saying that. He was a broken record saying it last year. But it wouldn't surprise me if Eki's got a plan, which fills me with confidence. He's the right man for us, and I've no danger. People are saying he'll walk. I don't think he will. Souza seems to have metal as opposed to the gentle giant, says David. Completely agree, pal. Saw a Blade on Twitter. Sorry, I can't remember his name. Put this up for a new song. He's Brazilian. He only cost us 10 million. He's better than that. He's better than the Norwegian. It's Vinicius. Yeah. All right, Jimmy. Yamas from Crete. I hope I've said that right, Pete. Yamas, my old pal. Good evening. Or good evening. That's my Unai Emery impression. How much do we think we have left to spend? Surely we've enough now for another 2 good players on a perm. I don't think it's difficult to work out how much we've got at least, which doesn't go in our favour, Paul, and it's not something we're going to openly talk about. Not that other clubs will be sniffing around this channel to see what our budget is, but I just think we've got money to spend now, haven't we? That's pretty clear. Hi, Jimmy says, Outdoor Adventures Dave. Feel more settled now. We've got new players in the squad. Up the Blades. Me too, pal. It's one main player, isn't it? A few development players, one main player, but with big targets to come as well, hopefully. Anacala Baralo Gouveia. Apologies if I butchered your name there. Jimmy, would you mind if I welcome Vinny Souza in Portuguese? Be my guest, Anna. No problem at all. You'll probably teach me something, to be honest. Jed says Sander was never a real blade. He was always very businesslike and wouldn't head the ball. He's too pretty, isn't he? Listen, I'm not going to have a go at Sander anymore. I think it's clear what my opinion is on Sander, but did a good job for us. And we move on. Awful squad building, says Bish, which is entirely the board's fault. Poor re-signing of Robinson, Fleck, Osborne, which is wasted money also. We're a month behind everyone around us. Completely agree on all the points you raised, really, in terms of awful squad building. Blaming the board for the re-signing of Robinson, Fleck and Osborne, that was solely Hecky's decision. He came out and said that in the press himself. I know that that's a fact that he wanted those 3 players and Sharp and Ender retaining. He wanted the whole squad to be retained, and I don't agree with that either. We are a month behind everyone else, at least 2 weeks behind everyone else. Leeds are losing to Shrewsbury. Thank you for the update, Andy. That may be out of date now because that came in at 8:15, I think, which is why I've got to zoom through some comments. But there we go. Anna's done it. Thank you for that. Forza Vinny. Já es me un blade. Now es que cas diso. Vicerum hero. Yeah, fantastic. I've probably absolutely murdered that. But if Vinny's watching, then what Anna said. Do you think it could progress with Hamer, seeing as it seems between 10 to 15 million was a lot for us? Yeah, it is a lot for us. But if you think of it as a swap for Sander and a 4-year contract, it's good business, isn't it? Evening, Jimmy. Feet up, enjoying the show tonight. Thanks for stretching yourself over the past couple of weeks, making this league build up a bit more bearable. Up the Blades. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate that, pal. Steve says, any word on where Izzy Koulibaly? Is he injured long term? No, he's recovering now from a knee injury. Similar timescale to Bogle, I heard. Whether that's still the case, I'm not entirely sure. Craig, one of our ramblers. Thank you so much, pal, for your super chat. All goes back into the channel, helps us grow. I really appreciate it. You don't have to do that. It's not something that I pilfer for you to send me money. If you want to become a member and get your own perks, you're more than welcome. That does support the channel as well. But absolutely, we're just all here to talk about the Blades. But thank you so much, Craig. That's very much appreciated, pal. Very kind. Am I the only person that feels deflated about this season? No, Chris, you're not. There's loads that do, but we're trying to change that, aren't we? We're all coming together as Blades and trying to up the mood a little bit. We know we're in a mess today, but we're trying to look forward a little bit. We know that the club has got a plan, and I'm not just saying, great, the Prince has got a plan. I'm saying the club, Hecky, everybody, the players we're being linked with now, we know that stuff's happening behind the scenes. It's positive moving forward. Genuinely believe that. You can see about 10 goals in our squad. We need signings that'll get us goals. No doubt about it, Hyder. We need goals in the team. Billy Mitchell at Millwall, says Craig. Absolutely right. Yeah, like him, love him. I don't love him. I like him, Craig, but good player. Good young player. Millwall do produce some good ones. How many more in before the window closes, mate? When I think we might get 5. I'd like 6. And that's including our 2 domestic loans, but I think we'll get a fair few in. We'll miss out on Tuba. We're too slow. We'll see, Mo. We'll see, mate. Akpom linked with Lons, League. And I expose clubs quoted 15 mil. We won't pay 15 mil for Akpom. I wouldn't want us to pay 15 mil for Akpom. We should move on to Scott. I would if that's going to be the price, but I don't think it will be. Vinny may not be a flair player to get you off your seat, but for me, the atmosphere at the lane heats up when a booming tackle happens or a 20-man brawl. Think back to Derby at home a few years ago. Absolutely right. We'll love it, don't we? We'll love that. Let's just try and speed up a touch. I don't want to keep you all night. 2 midfielders, 2 attackers required at least, and a keeper if we have out left. I agree, Lee. I agree. I think that's probably about right. Forget Ozzy, Lowe, and Robbo. I'm more worried about League One Wes. I think if you are, I am. I'm in that boat. I'm not. Listen, he's not going to be the weak link in the team, but I think he's certainly an area that could be exploited, and I think we should be looking at upgrading. And I think for the right player, we would, but I don't think it's a key target in this window. End of the day, says Bry, football's a business. It's brutal at times with no loyalty either way, club or players. Providing we use the money wisely and get value, we'll be okay. Just let the club do the business. Absolutely right. Lee, another one of our ramblers donating to the channel. Thank you so much. It's very much appreciated and not necessary. Thank you, though. Really appreciate it. Evening, Susan. Another one of our ramblers. Enjoying the content. Hope the events of today will end the negativity. Yes, me too. Me too, Susan. I think that'll come in time as we do. We have to continue on this trajectory, though, don't we? It can, you know, if a Hamer bid's in, but it stalls and it goes past Palace and it's not done for Forest or whatever it might be, things will change again. It's always a roller coaster following Blades, but at the moment, more so than at most times. Dave says, I agree, Jimmy. Top business with Sander. No brainer. Never felt like a Blade. Always saw us as a step. It did. That last line is absolutely bang on. He's never committed fully to the club. Didn't sign another contract. Just my opinion. Always saw us as a stepping stone. Completely agree, Dave. What about Iniacho? Listen, we could afford his wages, but he's not in the mould that fits our strategy for me. He's another Brewster, isn't he? I'm not saying he's not a better player or whatever it might be, or as much of a risk. But he's going to be a huge fee and on huge wages. And just because we could afford it now doesn't mean we should. Let's have a look. What else have we got? I'm just trying to get back up to speed a little bit. So apologies if I'm missing your comment, but it's because I ramble, innit? Let's be right. Brian says, well done, Jimmy. You're right about Sander on his day. Loved watching him, but never fitted in and always disappeared in matches up the Blades. Brian, I really enjoyed, I agree with you, by the way. I really enjoyed watching Sander in a United shirt, and I thought he did very well for us in patches. I also think he's a luxury player for us, and we can't afford to carry luxury players as a club. Very good player, but I'm not sure we can afford to carry anybody that's not going to be 100% committed every game. Is Vinny not in place of Tommy Doyle, Jimmy? Yes, he is, Joe. That is the replacement for Tommy Doyle, I think. But Tommy Doyle was adaptable, weren't he? We saw him play several roles last season. We saw him as a number 8. We saw him as a Norwood. But we predominantly saw him in that sort of breaking up play mould. When he played the Norwood role, if you like, he could spray it around, but he also got his foot in, didn't he? And I think that's what Souza's here to do. But I also think we need another 8. So if Doyle can play that role as well. So I don't completely rule out Doyle coming back, although it looks like the club might have done. Kevin, welcome to the Ramblers Club, pal. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. If you fancy joining our WhatsApp group, then drop me a message. There's my number there's a private chat where my number is, and if you can't get that sorted, message me privately and we'll get you in if that's something you're interested in. Panathinaikos beating Marseille, says Bids. Good. Not that I'm bitter. Evening, Jimmy. Saw Berger interview at Burnley, and what he said felt a bit insulting. Completely agree. Flame Rider basically said that they've got a good project here and they're an ambitious club. Just a little bit of a dig into it unnecessarily. People saying we overpaid for Sander when we've got McBurney and Brewster still in the squad. Fair play, Bish. Fair play. At least could recoup money on Sander. That is a fair point. You've got to give people's opinions are more than valid, and I don't think many will disagree with you there. I like the board, but reading between the lines, all outgoing money isn't getting reinvested. Would love Hamer, but looking unlikely from what Darren said on X, which was Twitter, isn't it? Yeah, feeling so down for this season already. Jordan, do not give up on Hamer. Do not give up on spending more money. Do not give up on some of the outgoing money that's been recouped going on a very good loan signing, because they cost a lot of money, particularly in wages. Listen, we'll be all right come close that window. I'm positive of it. I'm really confident. When we play Burnley, at least we know that it takes Berger 2 or 3 seconds to even recognise he's got the ball. Big Gorm and glad he's gone. Fantastic business, says John. No love lost there then. What's happening with Jebo, says Pitch and Putt. Jebo, it's been circulated today, is injured. Don't know how long for, but that would most likely take a move off the table. So let's hope he wants to sign a new contract, because otherwise we'll have another Illiman and Sander situation on the cards. We were willing to sell him, from what I understand, this close season if he didn't sign a contract. But now he's injured and a move's off the table. There's not a lot to stop him seeing out his contract and signing somewhere else for free on a bigger wage or a bigger sign-on fee. Danny raises a good point. Barkley's gone to Luton. What a signing that is for them. Player on the table with Premier experience we should have gone for. I agree. Maybe there's a London link that plays into that, because he obviously played a long time at Chelsea, didn't he? So he might have roots there now. But I'm surprised if they've got him cheap, because you'd have thought he'd come with a big wage. But good signing if they can get anything like his previous form. Neil says Leeds are 1 down at half-time. You love to see it, don't you? Living in Wakefield in West Yorkshire, and I've lived here all my life. I was brought up a Blade because my dad's from Attercliffe, for those of you that don't know. All my mates are Leeds. So when they've been on top last couple of seasons, I've had it in neck. To see him losing tonight, love to see it. They have to take a pay cut out of spite. That's responding to Billy. Okay. Sorry, I'm not following that, lads. But Marseille losing. Don't think we're in for Hamer. Think it's Akpom. Alone and 2. Waiting for Forest to drop the valuation on O'Brien. I haven't seen us. Well, I have actually. I've recently seen us linked to O'Brien, so I can't say that's not true. Fleming at Millwall valued at 15 mil. Burnley walked away after a few bids. Yeah, I don't think we'll be in for Fleming. I wouldn't fancy it, to be honest. Forest signed a keeper today. Does this open up Hendo coming back to us? No, I said on Sheffield United way earlier tonight, it's my understanding that they've signed Matt Turner from Arsenal, who's a good keeper. I think they got him from Brighton, but I think he's going to be Forest's backup keeper, and I think they're still going to go back in for Dino. Dean Henderson will not come back to the lane. I mean, I don't think it's as unlikely as Darren Smith said. I saw him quoted on Twitter saying, we're just as likely to get Kylian Mbappe as we are Dean Henderson. The Prince said in his interview with Sheffield United way that Eki could have a 100 grand a week player on loan if he wanted that, if that's what he asked for and that's what he could justify needing. But it's not likely. It's not likely because that completely tips the balance of the squad and things of that nature. And I don't know whether it's good value for money when we think about it, but I'd have him back tomorrow, Dean Henderson. I just don't think it's likely. Smithy Boy 85, who I'm going to out. He's my brother, and he's poking the bear here. You're getting Andy the Blade on for a bit of post-Palace analysis. I would love Andy the Blade back on the Ramble. It went down fantastically well. Everybody loved his appearance, particularly myself. Great feedback from that. And if you haven't seen that interview, please go and watch it, because it's not one that people think, oh, I'm going to go jump in and watch that. But it just gives you a little bit of background to me and my dad and our relationship and how we sort of come to love the Blades. But I'm trying to get him on the channel as a semi-permanent fixture, and he's refusing. He says he doesn't think people value his opinion, or people don't want to hear from me, and all this sort of garbage. Andy Smith 37 on Twitter. Hammer him for coming on Ramble. Follow him, message him, bug him, do everything you need. We want him on. So thank you, Smithy Boy 85, little bro. Much appreciated. Paul Cook Thank you, my friend. Welcome to the Ramblers Club. You are very welcome, and it's very much appreciated. You will probably get a few more exclusives than you should, but that's mainly Scott's fault, really, for badgering me all day, every day. I do have a job, Scott. I need to let you know that. So when I'm not replying for a long time, it's because I'm at work. All right. John says he'd love Dewsbury Hall. So would I. That's a great shout, and one we've not been linked to it. I think he'd come at a big price. I think with them selling Barnes and Maddison, they wouldn't want to do business, Leicester, and they could probably name the price for Dewsbury Hall. But yeah, I agree. Probably more likely to go to Luton. He spent some time on loan there. But yeah, good signing. Darren Smith said we won't spend near 30 million. I think when you add everything up of what we do at the close of the window, I wouldn't be surprised if we're around that figure. A lot of the things, listen, we've just spent a third of that on one player, and we know that we're after another 5. So I think Darren's playing a clever game here. I respect Darren, and he definitely knows what's going on. It's just I'm not so sure whether he's sharing accurate information at this point. Maybe he's just being clever bloke. What position do you believe will be targeted for the loans, Jimmy? I think we'll save that for the top of the pitch because they're the most expensive players, aren't they? Let's be right. It's the hardest thing to do, score goals. So I wouldn't be surprised to see certainly an attacking midfielder in the ilk of a Diallo, McAtee, Palmer. Whether it's one of them 3, I'm not entirely sure. As I say, I think Palmer's a little bit optimistic. But I think we could be in for Diallo. I've not seen us linked. And then I think we still need to pad out the midfield, don't we? So it may be a midfielder if we get Tuba, for example. But I think a striker will go down an absolute dream. Cameron Archer, and that's it. I'm off. I'm done. Brilliant. That'd be amazing. How much was Souza? We know it's less than 10 mil, but how much? I guess maybe 6 mil with 2 million add-ons. It were a little bit more than that, unfortunately, middle deal. Not much, but a little bit more than that. A little bit more than 10. From what's been reported. I always have to cover my tracks at the minute. Jake says, I honestly think we'll be okay this season. I love that. Really pleased with Souza coming in and excited for all the other new ones. Me too, pal. It's great now, isn't it? And listen, as I said before, we know we're at a low point at the moment in terms of the bodies that are currently here. But the names that we're being linked with and potential business that we're going to do now, we know we've got a bit of money in our pocket. Yes, we're behind, but it's exciting, isn't it? It's exciting now. Might have a 5 on Sander scoring a header against us. I might have a 5 on Sander getting an own goal. Love that. Love your content, Jimmy. Keep it up, says Craig. Thank you, pal, and thank you for your support. Really appreciate that. Everybody that subscribes, everybody that watches and subscribes, but our Ramblers particularly appreciate it because they're paying $2.99 a month for what is essentially free content, but showing the support to the channel and helping us grow quicker. You know, we'll be in that garage conversion before we know it. Something like that, anyway. Ben and Billy seem to be having a bit of an argument in the comments, so I'm going to skip over your comments, lads. I know you settle it amicably. Let's enjoy ourselves Saturday, and we might cause a nice upset. Absolutely, Andy. You won't bet against the club, would you? You might bet against the team in the current state that we're in. You won't bet against Sheffield United upsetting anybody on the day. Who thought we would have beat Tottenham at the Lane with essentially a reserve team? We can do it. We can do anything. This club, we love it. Absolutely love it. Bids. Hit that like button, Ramblers. Good one, Jimmy, again tonight. Thank you, pal. I'm going on a bit long, aren't I? But we're nearly there. I'm nearly caught up with comments. The Andy the Blade episode is brilliant, says Lee. Thank you, pal. And his team beats Jimmy's in a high-scoring game. No, Lee. I thought you were Team Ramble, Lee. He's not officially part of Team Ramble yet because he's refusing to do that. But no, my team's realistic. If you watch the video, you'll see some of his picks are ridiculous. And poor, that poor midfield. That's all I'll say. Ryan Sessegnon up for grabs on loan would be a great signing for that left side. Ryan Sessegnon. I love Ryan Sessegnon, Danny. I think we need to be stronger at left wing back. We're not going to sign a left wing back. We've got Larouci, we've got Lowe. Don't rate either of them at the moment, if I'm honest. And that's harsh, and it's an early call on Larouci. But because we've also got Reece to come back, I think Reece will be our left wing back now. We've got Trusty. So we're not going to before left wing backs up our way. I just can't see it. Mr. V says Marseille lost 1-0 and Dyer no shots, no goals. I like Gilliman. I can't say any other, but, you know, a little smirk. Liverpool linked with Dewsbury Hall, says Lee. Don't surprise me. Don't surprise me, mate. He's a good player. Really, says Milden, more than 10. Alan Nixon said 10 million would be if we won the Champions League, basically saying it's definitely under 10. Listen, I don't know the official figure, mate. I don't know the official figure. It could rise to more than 10, probably is the best way of putting it. But I thought it were over 10 with some smaller add-ons. But I don't know. I don't know is the honest answer. Word is Pep was talking to Cole Palmer about what he wants from him, i.e. go on loan and get some game time. Yeah, I saw that. Did he say something like, if you want to stay and fight for your place, then that's fine. But if you want to go out on loan, then we can arrange that as well. So, yeah, I just think there'll be a big queue for him. And if we're honest with ourselves as a club, we're not at the front of the queue, are we? Early doors, obviously, but if Ndai can't cut it at the top level, his deal could be stonking in hindsight, you know. Yeah, he could. I still think he'll come good. Don't you worry. Hello, Jimmy. Love the content, pal. Thank you, Billy. Do you expect Souza to start on Saturday? I do. And only because we're so short. Ecky's normally very careful with players. This lad's potentially going to be unfit, but I think he'll start just because of the need for him to start. Love your effort, Jimmy, and dedication. Thank you, Craig. I love your support and positivity in these chats. It's really appreciated. And thank you to everybody that comes and contributes in whatever way that is, whether that's as a Rambler, a subscriber, or just somebody who watches. I would nudge you to subscribe, please, if you're not subscribed already, but because it really helps us out and it costs you that. If you're worried about Egan or Arnell, are you worried about if Egan or Arnell got injured, either Basham or Robinson would step in? Yeah, I'm worried about that, mate. But I think beggars can't be choosers, can they, really? I think if Egan goes down, then Arnell can cover. But then obviously you're bringing somebody else in, like Bash, I suppose. It's not great, is it? It's not great. We're not deep in quality. Xylene. Brilliant. Thank you. Really appreciate the support, and sorry about the horrible singing. But thank you. It's very much appreciated. And if any of our new members want to drop into our WhatsApp group, which, as I say, you probably get more information than I should be dropping in there, then just let me know. Have you thought about a loan to buy to get Andy through? Andy the Blade through? Yeah. He'd probably say to you that I owe him a lot of money from over the years. So it'd have to be one hefty offer of repayment. But anyway, desperate to get him on. So just badger him and we'll wear him down eventually, I'm sure of it. And if you see him at the game, you want to say hello to him, Andy, get yourself on Ramble. Any abuse you can give him in that regard. Pleasant abuse, it's my dad. But let's badger him as much as we can. Getting quality players in will help Anel too, as I worry he may become disillusioned if not. I agree with you, Kev. I think Anel is up there with our best players now, if not our best player. So we have to up the quality levels around him. But we signed him on a 5-year deal. Anel's going nowhere. And I get we don't want to keep an unhappy player at the club, but we've got to do what's right for the club as well. I think if we're relegated, we'll lose him. But, we shall see. What would be your preferred lineup on Saturday? Toby, I'm going to cop out of this one. And I'm going to say, watch the preview tomorrow. I don't know whether it'll be out tomorrow. It's being recorded at 7:30 tomorrow. So it'll depend on how quickly I can turn it around. But I've got a Palace preview coming out with a Palace fan channel. So I'm really excited for it. It's hopefully going to be a recurring theme on the Ramble that we're doing match previews. And I'll name my team then. And I'll be asking you, what's your team for the first time in ages? We haven't done that for a long time. Okay, we're coming to the end now. You'll be pleased to hear, so we can all go to bed. Still think we need a goalkeeper, pal. Absolutely, Simon. As do I, mate. Lack of competition for Wes is most frightening. I agree. Davis in Premier League. I'm not comfortable. Even with our relationship with City, I don't see us first choice for Palmer. I agree. So loans are ultimately down to the player, aren't they? or a lot of the time will be, particularly if he's got offers on the table. They won't be saying go to Sheffield United instead of Brighton or whatever it might be. They'll be saying go where you want to go, or go. We think you'd be best here. McAtee's a different story. Yeah, I agree. I think McAtee fits straight back into our side really neatly, actually. Souza has experience in the middle of a 3-2. Yeah, I agree. I think he'd be really good. More confidence in Jackie Longthrow than most seem to have. Yeah, I think he played well to the back end of last season, hasn't he? I just think he's always got a mistake in him, and he was targeted every time, weren't he? Neil says, Jimmy, the Palmer thing. Blades have a very good thing with City. We do. We've got a great relationship with City after how we treated Doyle and Maka. So that may help. It may help, and I think we'll definitely get one loan from City. I'm sure of it, because we've got to use that relationship, and they've got fantastic youngsters. But I just think Palmer. Listen, I hope I'm wrong, and this is just an opinion, but I think Palmer might be a bridge too far. Be amazing if we got him, wouldn't it? Aim has just been subbed by Coventry in Cup. Good, because he's had a call from Eki, I think. Been talking of us changing formation with the sales of Illiman and Sander. Do you think we'll see that Saturday, or wait till we have all the players we want in? I don't think we'll be too different, to be honest. I think the style might be different, but I don't think the formation will change much. I think there'll be one just off, hopefully McBurney, but it's probably going to be a Sula and Traore if McBurney's not fit. And then I think we'll have a flat three with probably Souza in middle, Slimani, maybe Osborne. It's just... wow. Maybe Norwood. Devante Cook, bring him in from Barnsley, cheap option, can score, young and worth the risk. No, I'm not having it. Devante Cole, no. I got hat-trick at weekend. That's in League One. They wanted him gone instead of James Norwood, who's gone to Oldham. Don't think he'd cut it at Premier League level. We've got enough unproven players, haven't we, for me now? I think we need at least top scorer in Championship. Joe Brackpom would be a reasonable punt, wouldn't it? Do you have a clue when R&D will be back? A couple of months, unfortunately, and then he's got to get back up to match speed. I'd be surprised if we saw him before November. Do you actually think we're going to get an attacking midfielder in before the end of the transfer window? Yes, I do, Sam. I'm very confident on it. Very confident. Other than Archer and Akpom, which striker are you taking? Difficult, isn't it? I won't go for Che Adams. I've seen a couple say Che Adams. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, in all honesty. If you give me some names, I'll tell you whether it's a yay or nay, but it depends who's available, doesn't it? Probably should have added that Souza could fill in at the back line. Should we go one down? Yeah, potentially, Ben. Yeah, I suppose I've not thought of that, which eases some of those worries we were talking about earlier. Do you know if the rumour about Brewster's hamstring going again is rubbish? Yeah, Dane messaged me about this. I've been trying to find out. I'm hoping it's not true, as we all are, obviously, but rumours are that Brewster's done his hamstring again in training. From what I'm hearing, that's not the case, but I haven't had an official view on it. So let's hope it's not true, because I think Ryan Brewster could have a big season, probably by default, in terms of there's nobody else to play up front. But Adam says he's got a bad feeling we'll draw the Pigs tonight. Oh, Jesus. I hate that. I hate those games. I know some people love them. I'd be happy if we never played them again, to be honest. Dave says, can't see the week before the deadline being where we do the rest of our deals. Oh, you can see the week being before the deadline. Yeah, I can see the deadline day, to be honest, Dave. Would you play Norwood and Vinny in the same team? It sounds too defensive. I don't like it. I'll be honest, but do we need to be a bit more defensive? Do we need to be thinking about soaking up pressure and looking at a counter? Maybe. How about that Joel Pirot from Swansea? I think he's all right. I don't rate him as much as a lot of people do. I wouldn't be upset if he came in, and I think he improves us at the moment, but he's not a number one target for me. You look tired, Jimmy. Get this into bed. Oh, thanks, mate. I'm actually okay, but thanks for saying I look tired. Much appreciated, Mr. V. I'm only messing. I am flagging a bit, but it's been a busy few days, hasn't it? We'll look for a striker at the end of the window, as long as a loan, I reckon, as long as top teams know they'll 100% need to send out for game time. Absolutely right. Cheers for tonight, Jim. All the best and up the Blaze. Thanks, pal. Appreciated. Thanks for everybody that's contributed and subscribed and become a Rambler. Much appreciated. Brooks and Vinny. Brooks as in Andre Brooks and Vinny, because I like Andre Brooks. I would have him in and around the first team, just coming off the bench and maybe slowly helping him progress. You might mean David Brooks. David Brooks, if he's the same player, which I hope he is, he won't go out of Bournemouth. And, you mean Andre, but just to sort of finish my point then. And if he's not the same player, unfortunately, after his injury, then it won't be, up to it, will he, unfortunately? Replacing Ilian Sander with Smallbone and Akpom sounds like something you'd do after a relegation. Come on, Locks. Come on. So an early rumour of Patino to Blades. Well, he's at Swansea now. There you go. I never rated Patino. I think I were on record as saying that. Fingers crossed it's Hamer now, Smallbone. Not Smallbone, I assume you mean, Locks. Yeah, I agree. I prefer Hamer to Smallbone. Guys, I'm going to call it there. Thank you so much for all your contributions tonight. It's nice to get back together and try and be a bit more positive about the Blades. Listen, there'll be targets that we've been linked with that we'll miss out on, and we'll all be gutted about it. But there'll also be targets that we weren't expecting. I think a few people had said, Hamer, I'd love to get Gustavo Hamer, but Blades are never linked with Hamer, and now it's one of the main boys that we're linked with, innit? So you never know with this club. We sometimes pull a rabbit out of a hat, don't we? So, yeah, thanks again for all your support. Much appreciated. Thank you, Sarah. Much appreciated. See you all very soon. Come on, you red and white wizards, and up the Blade.